Hello, everybody. This is the What is on the Tabletop podcast. My name is Symbio Joe. You can call me Joe. And if the grim darkness of the far future would be a pond, my guest today would be a duck. Hello, Luke.
Hi, Joe. Yeah, thanks for having me back on.
I'm looking forward to having you back on. How is Typhus?
Typhus. Oh, um, my one I put together some time ago.
Yeah, I re-
Uh,
I'm just being cheeky here, putting the finger right in the wound because you were talking about painting it. Maybe.
yeah, well, funnily enough, I actually yesterday I sort of took that out in the back garden and gave it freshened up the zenithal prime on it, thinking, oh, I might get to that. But yeah, I haven't started yet. So yeah,
Speaking
still
about
on the
that
shelf.
method of priming, you did something interesting, and that is experimenting a little bit around with lighting and centerfold highlighting because you were fortunate enough to be part of an Amazon scam and get a wonderful lamp.
Yeah, I got sort of quite into taking the photos with the coloured lighting. It's quite good fun. I suppose at the time I was doing a lot of that. I wasn't feeling particularly well, so I didn't want to do any painting or modelling. So that was keeping me occupied. But yeah, I haven't had anything through from Amazon for ages now. Unfortunately, I think they've given up on me.
No, no great recommendations. But how did you come up with that? Was it only because, oh, well, I have it, I at least try it because it looks great. I mean, it looks like you know what you're doing. The mix of the green and the orange fit so well. And I don't know, on the typhus photo, you put a little bit of dust or smoke in there. So
Yeah, I don't. I was just experimenting, really. Yeah, because I had this lamp, and I thought, well, I could probably use that to light one side, which looked okay, but it looked much more interesting with a contrasting colour from the other side. So I used a Tupperware lid taped over my Angle Boys lamp because I didn't have the green lighting gel or anything like that to use. Yeah, so I was improvising. But yeah, that was quite good fun doing those photos, and they look quite nice.
is that a way to cheat if you want to paint OSL?
I suppose it could be, yeah, yeah, that would be a good method. Um, I mean, you've probably noticed, Joe, I haven't done very much painting recently.
But you
Uh,
did some.
I did do. I've painted one miniature so far this year. Yeah, I've been busy putting the uh, uh putting the kit bashes together. I've
And
sort of,
a lot you did put together. And oh well, I've you painted your deep sea Adeptus Mechanicus scuba diver, and that this is why I asked because the source lighting on that one is so good that I thought to myself, does he use light to know how to paint it right, or are you just do you just have a grip on how to paint the OSL?
I think it. Yeah, I don't tend to use. I know some people sort of light a miniature beforehand and take photos that they can refer to them when they do an OSL or non-metallic metal, but I don't do that method. I sort of, I suppose, with the deep sea admech jellyfish thing, I just sort of relied on more like a zenithal, but from different angles, or coloured zenithal. Yeah, so I painted all the red below from above from that angle, and then the blue from below.
So you have the
Yeah,
miniature turned that way, so you only have the opportunity to paint from that direction?
yeah, yeah. With the
Okay.
airbrush, yeah,
Okay, that makes so much sense and seems so logic, and I feel a bit dumb not using it. But so far, I do not try to get into the painting of source light because, well, first of all, I'm not good at it, and then I'm well, it something does not work out for me there. It is just like, okay, it is maybe like having a scene. It adds a lot of current or staticness to the miniature in my eyes.
uh-huh.
It is a good effect, but as I have in mind that I might play with that miniature and move it around on the table, and I always have. Also, sometimes I have a hard time when a complete ice-based army is running around on a very green or very red table.
Yeah, I understand.
I
Yeah,
mean, please do what you want with it. This is just I struggle a little bit with it. So because I'm very much people who know my work, I'm very much stuck with well, the ash wasteland when it comes to my bases, and I'm not a person that puts a lot of effort in basing or painting bases. But coming back to your work, we
yeah.
have something else. Um, Something that when I looked at it today had to think about another guest of mine, and that is, well, your unnamed masked man that later was identified maybe as Hashtur.
Oh, yeah, the pilgrim. Yeah,
Yes, the pilgrim, because when I looked at it, I had Brett on as a guest, and he does the All Spawn project, basically a chaos warband that exclusively consists of different chaos spawns, and he talks about a mysterious, obscure warp figure that comes and collects the doomed marines or doomed followers of chaos that are to become a chaos spawn or is able to command chaos spawns. And I
oh,
think this model nails it down pretty good, come to think of it.
yeah. That's a really interesting concept, actually.
Yeah, he has this very the well, the mask, the bell. Let's I have thrown it up right now. Let's see if I can get you painted that model
Yeah,
very very well, and you even made a very very nice base for that model.
yeah. That was a really fun project. It took quite a lot of time, but I suppose with the model, I sort of mildly kit bashed it, and it had been sat on the shelf for ages, and I was staring at it, and then somebody made a comment on one of my posts that the colours were very Pascal Blanche, who is an artist I wasn't familiar with, and you know I happened to be looking through his catalogue of work, and there was one particular image that really caught me, and I thought, oh, maybe I could use that as as a base, or you know, interpret it into 3D to use as a base for the Pilgrim model, which works really well for me because I ended up going with the color scheme I probably would have never chosen for him, but yeah, I think it really suits the miniature.
It does. Come to think of it, yeah, you might think of something more brownish or grimy, maybe even work with the gray, the light and the dark. But
Yeah,
yeah, maybe this creature is actually the shepherd of the Allspawn. I see him, I see it now as that figure, and it really jumped me because that you know you have something stored in your memory, and
Hmm.
then your brain suddenly makes these connections like, oh, that is the guy that, or that guy would totally fit for this and that. And I don't know if that is part of the creative mind or the associative mind. It is really strange experiencing that. But yeah, all in all, lovely. I The colors are great, and especially the yellow, orange, blue tones, the complementary colors, and also the little mushroom, because why not mushrooms? Mushrooms are always great.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I did go through a bit of a phase with some of my other miniatures, adding mushrooms to the bases. Well, yeah, predominantly my Nurgle ones. But I thought he needs mushrooms growing out of his head. I sort of got into the quite interested in the zombie fungus.
uh,
Um,
the one that takes over ants.
yeah, that yeah the I forget what it's called, cordyceps something. But yeah, I got quite interested in that and read up about it, and yeah, I was sort of that I had that in mind when I added the mushrooms to his head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
almost
I
as though he's not in control of his own actions.
okay, yeah, maybe, or
Mm.
a more symbiotic endeavor, because mushrooms do not always go full ham on the taking over the host. They are they. The more you learn about mushrooms, the more interesting they get. It's like, oh no, mushroom, you cannot have uh, what was it? Unrefined oil in your cells that kills you. Mushroom, be like, hold my beer. And yeah, they can do that. There is a mushroom that can puts unrefined oil in its cells, and the well, not the actual mushroom, but the top that we see that we call a mushroom, not the
Yeah,
mood cell. And a friend of mine informed me that in Chernobyl there is already a mushroom that works very well with radiation. So
man.
if there is anything you think cells you think cells should not be able to do, mushrooms are probably doing it right now.
Yeah, they are pretty incredible. Yeah, I read up a lot about mushrooms, and I was quite interested in certain. I think it was lion's mane that can help improve memory, and there was other ones that can help boost your immune system. Very interesting.
Are you familiar with Grime and Gribbly?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he does the mushroom cult very successfully and very beautifully.
yeah. Really does. Yeah, I think he was quite keen on my pilgrim. I seem to recall he left a comment on it. But yeah, he does a brilliant job.
Quick shout out to Grime and Gribbly. I hope your hand is fine because he had a little accident lately with the chisel.
Oh yeah, I saw on the story he had a bandage, but I didn't know what happened.
He just slipped. He will be fine. I checked up on him.
Oh, okay, good.
And god damn it, I lost my train of thought. What was I going on about? Because there was something. Yeah, well, I maybe I remember it later, or it probably will jump me a few seconds before I go to sleep, or or when I re-listen to the episode. Yeah, you are still doing a lot of kit bashing work, and amazing kit bashing work. Let's look at your entry for Apple Picking 28, created by the wonderful For Hydra.
Yeah.
And this one actually made me very very enthusiastic for your work. If there ever was a downside, not me not being enthusiastic for your work, but it shows your quality. And what really made me jump with joy about the servitor are the tubes, because they reminded me instantly of Terry Gilliam's Brazil, where you have tubes running through all the flats and living apartments of humans, just to show how
Mm.
intrusive the technology has become. And these tubes are to suck in the apple, to grab and suck in the apple. This is so genius to me, and immediately recognizing the, I think it is part of the old Necron Gauss gun.
Oh, the sort of claw hand
Yeah,
yeah, I don't. It is a Necron part. A friend of mine gave me a big tub full of leftover bits because he put a Necron army together. So I'm not really au fait with Necrons, but it's definitely a Necron piece. Yeah.
I love this model. The the more I still look at it, and
Yeah, it's one of my
again
faves.
with two different source lights at the front and the back. Then a I think a very great idea to paint the apple more colorful than the rest,
Yeah.
to make it stick out more. And also the choice on the face to, I think, highlight the human part. Oh, this is so great! I'm I don't have to be there and interpret it. I have the artist with me, and he can do the explaining.
I tried to explain it to for Hydra because the apple picking challenge got sort of cancelled, um, as it were, due to the issues with Ukraine, and I know there's lots of refugees coming into Germany and other things going on, and um, he messaged everyone to say it had been cancelled, and it was just at the point where I'd sprayed the yellow and the sort of bluey purple on it, and I was like, oh, that's a shame. So I suppose because the competition didn't have an end, I sort of thought of the paint work on it like almost like an unfinished sketch. So I just sort of rendered the apple and the face in full detail and then left the rest of it as it was. Because I think there's quite a lot of beauty when you see like an unfinished sketch of something. And it was something I hadn't seen in miniature painting. Uh, so I thought that was like my tribute to the competition.
That is very true. You don't see that often. Well, maybe unwanted when you follow someone and they have a work in progress, but you
Mm,
for quite some time don't see any updates on it anymore, and you know this miniature is now standing on a shelf waiting to being picked up again.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
if in the context now it works quite well, and it has a certain beauty to it. And well, maybe apple picking is coming back, maybe not. Depends. Right now, I think it also have a lot to do with the participant, which is one of Hydra's children.
yeah, yeah,
um, who has quick switching interests, which is very normal for a kid that age.
yeah. I can fully appreciate that.
uh, and from that model forward, oh, I think we have to jump a bit back, because you did something else which received a lot of praise, and that is a certain someone lying very lazy on a crab-like robot.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the figure in the chair is Dr. Tottenkranz from I think it's Reaper Miniatures. It's not lead, it's like white metal cast model, and I sort of happened to see it when I was looking on the internet one day, and I was like, "That's a really cool model. I should probably pick that up." And then um, it's sort of on a flying base, but it's not a clear plastic rod. It's a white metal post that you stick in the base. And I'm not really sort of a fan of like flying or levitating miniatures. I think when people can do it really cleverly, like some people use smoke plumes and such, if they're doing Marines with jump packs, that looks really good. But if it's got like a physical connection point that's quite obvious, I don't really like that. So yeah, I decided to stick some crab legs or robot insect legs on it. Yeah, that was a yeah, it was quite fun. Another fun project. I quite enjoyed doing the paintwork on that. I ended up repainting uh, all of the green on it because I started off with the wrong base tone and it just didn't look right.
And it
It's
has a
quite
very nice little jack-o'-lantern for
yeah,
candy collecting purposes.
yeah, yeah.
Or
That was sort of a later addition. The jack o' lantern bucket. I made that out of a part of a pen cap and a sequin and a bent over a sewing pin.
oh, I did not know sewing pens are so bendy, or did you heat it up?
Oh no, I've got some like round nosed. I think they're called wire pliers. Yeah, and they're two round faces on it rather than being flat with teeth. And I just curved it around there. It takes a little bit of force, but they're not too bad to bend. I use pins quite a lot.
I also like the little skull monitor, also used by you as a light source, which is great.
Yeah, I think that's the first bit of freehand I'd done since I was a kid on that tiny little skull.
And
Yeah.
now seeing the close up of it, you did very well. How many tries went into that skull?
I actually managed to get it first time.
Oh, of course you did. I mean, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, I was surprised myself. So much so that I called my son over and he was like, "Oh, Dad, how did you do that?" And I said, "I don't know." Yeah,
uh,
it just came out first time. I
excellent.
probably I probably couldn't repeat it if I wanted to. It worked.
Yeah, I had a few of those.
Mm.
Okay, let's move on because this is not anything everything you've done. You've done quite well. Let's just jump to the front, I think, because Brother Grimaldus would commission you for new relic servitors, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, I've really been enjoying the relic servitors.
And
Uh,
right now at the front we have the wonderful angel statues.
yeah. Um, yeah, I made two because one of them's gone off to a another Instagrammer as a trade. So he's painting one of my other miniatures.
Are you allowed to say who it is?
Well, I haven't discussed it with him, so I won't mention it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Do it. Don't jinx
yeah.
it. It's all right.
But he happened to share one of my posts on his Instagram story, and whenever whenever people do that, as much as possible, I'll try and contact them to say thank you because I don't always get the notifications when that happens, but sometimes I do. Um, but he happened to mention that he'd like to paint one of my one of my miniatures, one of my kit bashes up. So I said, yeah, sure. Which one do you want to do? And we worked out a trade. Yeah, so I made two of those servitors with the sort of cherub angels on top because I wanted to keep one, and then one's gone off to him.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Also, what took me by surprise, but should have not, and that is the servitor carrying the saint picture of Conquistador Jesus. Let's call it him that.
yeah, yeah. That was that was a lot of work on that one. I think it took me about 40 hours to put that together. Two of those hours was spent trying to sculpt that tiny conquistador helmet onto Jesus. It was very fiddly. Yeah. Yes, that's probably my favourite of all the ones I've done so far. I really like I used one of the Delac heads, slightly modified, but it's got like a grill for the face. I think it's supposed to be a filter mask or something, but I thought of it like a speaker grill. So he's got the little reel to reel player on his hip with the wire coming up to the speaker for the mouth. Yeah.
So all the proper hymns can be broadcasted by his face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With the chanting and I don't know, adoration of Inquisitor Cortez. Yeah. It's been I yeah, this sort of reliquary servitor thing I've taken off, gone off in a sort of different direction with it. But I was looking through all these sort of witch hunter style models that I've been working on, and I think I've only, if you discount the three versions that I made of the same figure, the Psyker, I've only got four humans. Yeah, four human characters in that squad so far. All the rest of them are servitors. But you can never have too many servitors, I think.
Oh no, of course there are always people who need to be lobotomized and forced into horrible labor until the end.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
I no, that's might be a story for another day. Uh, just keep. I'm just going through the servitors, and yeah, we of course have the demon skeleton as
Mm.
well. Also, if anyone wants to make their own servitor, you put together a little tutorial, if I recall correctly, in how you did the upper body.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just in my Instagram story.
Oh, just
So
is it in your highlights?
no, it's not in there. It was just there for 24 hours. Um, yeah, I did have a couple of people say that I should do a proper one, so that it's there all the time and people can refer to it, which I might do. But I, when I'm putting models together, I don't really want to. I use the same area for my modeling that I use for my photography, so it'd be a case of having to clear everything away and then set up uh, like a backdrop and such to get good quality photos or better quality photos than the ones I did use. Um, yeah, and I'm sort of when I'm working on something, I just want to get on with it really. So it's but I might do a proper tutorial on that. But yeah, that was a lot of push molded bits using silicon molds, mostly of Games Workshop parts. Yeah, that's how I've done all these servitor torsos so far. It's all push molds.
And of course, I cannot go past one of my first and personal favorites, which is not a servitor at all. I just recognizing, and that is one of the acolytes. You made little, is it brass or copper tools
Oh yeah,
with
um,
ah
that's the one with the book and the flaming
yes,
brazier. Yeah, that's actually that's a paperclip.
and you
The
sharpened the edges, maybe.
yeah, 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 it's those are paper clips, but the only ones I could find were like a rose gold color, which is why it sort of looks like copper or brass. But yeah, uh, you can do quite a lot with paper clips. I made a nice little pair of tongs for the acolyte out of a paper clip. It's sort of fiddly, but it's definitely doable. I had to solder those. I soldered the sort of connection point on those because it was a bit too small for super glue to get a decent bond. But yeah, it's the first time I've broke out my soldering iron in a really long time.
Amazing. I just adore that model because it fits so well, and it's like the tongs at a well. If one is familiar with ancient or medieval torture techniques, yeah, that is quite a chilly sight. Or as we learned from film theory, if you are showing a gun, that gun will be used later in the movie.
Yeah,
I get a lot of that vibe from this miniature, which I think is great. And
yeah.
well, maybe we should jump in the one that you mentioned, because you are made a lot of iterations of that Psyker with the Familiar, and the
Mm,
Familiar is a press mold, I suppose.
yeah. It's from um, it's from a miniature from the others Lust expansion set. I don't know what the miniature's called. I didn't get the expansion set. I just got that one model. But yeah, it's I actually originally I bought it to go in the squad, but it's more of the old Games Workshop scale, so it doesn't really fit with the current line. It looked quite small. So my original plan was to make a silicon mold and then grow the mold with white spirit. Um, so I'd intended to expand the mold and then cast it in resin just so it was at a larger scale. But um, my mold came out really poorly. It was full of like air bubbles because yeah, I don't have a vacuum chamber or anything to pull all the air out, and so I ended up just cutting the mold up and using it as a push mold to make the mandrake alien root baby. Yeah, for the Psyker.
Something
It's just
that got a little of popularity. As I recall, craftsman Jono did a very similar creature, and even more disturbing than
yeah,
than yours, if that even is possible. Or let's say they are equally disturbing in their own context.
yeah. Okay, I'm happy with that.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it was just such a cool little detail on that model. I thought, oh, it'd be nice to use it for something. Um, and then obviously, yeah, as you say, I made three versions of it because I don't know. Yeah, I suppose there was. I just always felt like it could be improved on.
yeah, and I suppose it is very hard just tearing it off and gluing the new version on, or are some parts recycled? But I think these are three separate models now, right?
Yeah, yeah, three individual models. I had the parts to make another one and then another one, so I'd rather, yeah, I'd rather put a fresh one together than I don't really like, taking models apart to reuse bits on new pieces. I like to sort of work from fresh. I don't know why. I suppose because a lot of the parts that I do are push molded now, so it doesn't really cost me anything to do it. So I might as well start with a fresh piece.
So the follower on YouTube is now looking with me on at your glorious retinue of different servitors and well, conquistador servitors.
Yeah,
The sunset photo. Can you elaborate a little bit on everything? Or
everything in that photo.
yeah,
Um,
first of all, what pushed you to the conquistadors theme?
I found I think it's Clash of Rage. I think that's the game. But the servitor, the conquistador servitor torso and arms are from that uh that game. And yeah, I bought a couple just because I thought it was a really cool um miniature. Originally I'd planned on using it. I've got a fungus infested walking tree with sort of strange staring eyes. It's a resin miniature, but I'm not sure where it came from. It's quite large, and I thought, oh, it would be nice to have that as part of a diorama. And I thought I saw this conquistador miniature with the halberd, and I thought, oh yeah, maybe he could be trying to defend the town from this big walking fungus infested tree. But when it turned up, it was a bit larger than I thought. But it had tiny little legs. Um, yeah, and then I thought, well, I'll just chop the legs off and give it a robe, lower body section. Um, yeah, I just picked it up because it was a cool looking model, really. But the I've actually used the same Delac lower body section on a lot of them.
A lot of the lag use, and I just now are seeing some Necron parts in there too, and not at the Conquistador, but at the Writer Servitor. Uh,
Yeah,
one might think that you would. Great. Now I have forgotten the name. The some are calling them Cardor. Yeah, exactly. Cardor is it? The more medieval looking gang. Are those in your possession?
I do have a set of those. Yeah, I haven't used any yet. But I do have a box full of those. I bought them about the same time as all the Delac miniatures. Um, yeah, with the intention of sort of mixing between maybe the robes from the Delac and the collars from the Cawdor kit. But I guess as I started putting the miniatures together, they all looked a bit too smart to have the Cawdor upper body.
Huh.
The roads look quite well kept, and and the corridor are quite sort of dishevelled. So yeah, I decided not to mix them in the end. But I mean, I'm sure they'll get used for something at some point.
Yeah, and your basic motivation was to, well, recreate models that already existed and make them better, or just putting your own spin to it?
Yeah, I suppose when 2020 started, I was kind of at a loss as what to do project wise. And originally, I'd planned out a diorama with the walking church reliquary that I made last year. Um, and I had the old witch hunter acolyte with the book and the flaming brazier. Um, but yeah, obviously, like the scales, it looks so much smaller now because of the scale creep with Games Workshop. So I thought, well, I could probably remake that to make it larger, and then for one reason and another, the diorama didn't come to fruition, and I was sort of at a bit of a loss with what to do. But I quite enjoyed putting the revised version of that acolyte together. So I thought I'll try and do some of the other ones because it was such a cool range of models. Because yeah, I mean you don't really get stuff like that now with the modern kits. They're all so strange. There's just something really like a real nostalgia about those, I suppose, because they were made like 19 years ago now. Which
Yep,
one's off?
quite some time went by.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So I guess that was kind of born out of not really having a direction with a project, but it's sort of led into um, yeah, more of my own kind of style of stuff. But I've sort of looking back at the older models or my interpretations of them. There's quite a lot less detail than there is on my servitors and such. I do seem to like to try and pack in a load of detail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot. You manage to pack in a lot of detail, but it looks always fitting or not too busy. They fail to look overloaded with detail, or maybe
Mm.
uh, I'm saying that now, but maybe 10 years that later that might change because I just adore the work and very good detail work you're putting in there. So I might have a blind spot there. But I don't think that someone approached you yet and said, "Hey, stop it."
No. Um, no, I mean, yeah, you got to try and strike a fine balance because actually, I've got quite a few wargame exclusive models on my shelf. I'm noticing, but I haven't painted any of them because I think they're a little bit too much detail on those. They're sort of too heavy with the detail, and it makes it really difficult to know where to start with them. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm trying to like push myself a bit with my green stuff in. I'm doing a little bit of the filigree on these reliquary servitors, um, mostly because it's just a new thing that I've only recently tried, and so I'm trying to improve on that. I'm trying to improve my actual sculpting as well. I've got a couple of sort of slightly larger scale pieces that I'm working on at the moment that are part of the Inquisitor retinue, and yeah, there's a bit more hand sculpting on those, less push molding. Um, yeah, so It's good to try and practice these things.
Oh, well, let's talk about the man himself then, the Lord Inquisitor. Oh, there we go. And I do not know where the shoulder pads are from, but they look like something I should know.
And the whole of the torso and the backpack for that model is from a Kingdom Death miniature.
Oh, okay, that's where I my oh my god, there's a little fetus on the side.
Yeah.
This suddenly has become so much more horrific.
I'm not responsible for that. It was already there.
Yeah, I know. People who are not familiar with Kingdom Death, that is quite the well. It throws you a curveball because Kingdom Death has a lot of aesthetic mixture, but
Hmm.
in the end, everything is horrifying and scary.
Yeah, that's true. I would agree with that. I suppose, at least it's not genitals because they quite like going that route as well with some of their figures. There's a particular one with a pumpkin that springs to mind. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
If I see it, I might remember, but that is nothing that caught my interest too way too much because when it becomes there is a theme of hands and too much hands and arms and legs and it is a style slash aesthetic you have to like, and as I said, as there are many aesthetics that are mixing in, I'm really in the oh, I like that, I don't like that, I like that, but I don't like that. It is like a turn signal for me when flipping through the pictures. What was really nice was the Kickstarter where you got because in the game itself you defeat monsters and you can get part of the monsters as equipment for your heroes. I don't know if they are
Oh,
heroes, but I just call them hero miniatures right now. And yeah, that is something I like very much. Not so well. The thematic is a difficult route to go when you are in the body horror genre and
mm,
genitals. It is not to quote a famous German author who did a also a lot who I think it was Walter Mörs who said in one of his books it is not the fault of genitals that they look like radioactive vegetables.
uh, yeah,
And I leave it with that. Back to your Inquisitor, because there are a lot of great bits in there aside from the Kingdom Death. You've managed to put in a AdMech sword you filled up, and I think that is or one of the Age of Sigmar dwarves pistols.
yeah. He did have originally in that hand or that arm rather. It was I think it's probably from the same model, from the same AdMech model, that the pistol. Um, for about a week, it was down at his side, like the Age of Sigmar one is. That's from a Caradron Overlords model,
Yes, that
and
should be the correct name.
yeah, um, the the AdMech pistol was down at his side, and I thought, nah, it doesn't look right. And then it was sort of bent at the elbow, so it was pointing up, and then that sat like that for a little while, and that didn't look right. And then I was going to repose it back how it was, and I just sort of found that when I was going through my bits, and I thought, yeah, that works perfect. Um, yeah, I, that's a really good line actually. The carriage and overlords for bits for they work just as well in 40K, I think.
Yes, I did a minor kit bash where I just put their helmets on Space Marines, which works quite well to give a totally different aesthetic to the
Mm.
new helmets or the old helmets, or just having the face mask. I think the Stormcast have the same effect, but you already had that with the Blood Angels and the um, Death Mask of Sanguinius. So
Yeah,
I think they it is a Greek aesthetic, I think, with the straight down, or Persian aesthetic with the straight down beards.
yeah. I think you're right. I think it's Persian. Yeah. I was actually I've got a load of those heads, and I've been trying to think of a project to use them on for a long time. And I was gonna my Inquisitor was originally going to be in Space Marine armor or power armor, I suppose. And I was going to use one of those heads because I really like those beards that they've got. Um, but yeah, I ended up with this one. In the end, I didn't feel like power armor would really work with the rest of the squad. I thought it looked too out of place. And obviously the Conquistador helmet ties in with the servitors, and then that led on to the Jesus in a helmet. So yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, the power armor aesthetic and Inquisitors is a bit of a strange one because I think in the very early artwork there was not a distinction for a civil use power armor or a
Mm.
more Sisters of Battle kind of power armor. Just remembering the artwork of Inquisitor Silla's hand, who is just a tiny head in poking out of a giant power armor.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of a better job done with the actually Inquisitor model, the mono-dominant Inquisitor. He had a power armor that worked quite
Yeah.
well, but was still a bit bulky. So yeah, the role-playing game Dark Heresy introduced a civil power armor in quotation marks that is not actually a Space Marine power armor, but yes, it adds. It should add a lot of bulk, or they are one is not familiar with other concepts of power armor. I mean, you always have the plate armor like high-ranking officers wear,
Hmm.
but there is always the question: what is your Inquisitor doing? Is he more on a open approach side of things, or how much resources does he use? And yeah, um, walking around as an Inquisitor in power armor or even Terminator armor, there's a model. There was a model for that out, but I don't think now it was second edition Inquisitor in Terminator armor. That is
I think I had that one,
uh,
Joe. That
that
was one of the old lead ones, wasn't
yes,
it?
yes.
And he had a beard and a ponytail and a bionic leg.
Maybe I just remembering him, or maybe there are two head options because the one I remember had kind of a strange laser pistol instead of a storm bolter. No, well,
Oh,
anyways, the point that I wanted to make: walking around in power or Terminator armor is quite a statement for Inquisitor
yeah,
because one does not simply oversee such a figure. And of course, we in the early days we had a lot of combat context, which means Inquisitors in the front line of war, which you want the best protection if you want to do that. But with an
yeah.
expansion into more skirmish realms, Necromunda, Kill Team, the whole Inquisition 28 movement, uh,
Hmm.
the very good, in my eyes, Dark Heresy role playing game opened up a lot of minds to the Inquisition, and of course the work of Dan Abnett with his Eisenhorn trilogy that expanded so much more into a direction of the 40k universe that the normal player is unfamiliar with?
Right. I should read the Eisenhorn books actually, because someone mentioned to me that there's a passage in there about um, maybe it is Eisenhorn, but there's a rows of servitors picking apples, uh, which I had no knowledge of when I made mine, but sounds like it'd be right up my street.
Oh well, every job in the Imperium that can be done and is quite easy or monotone will or can be done by a servitor.
Yeah, that's true.
Listen, I hope I can edit past the little hiccup Zoom caused, and so far I think we are already through an hour.
Wow, that flew past.
That it always does, but
Yeah,
I think it leaves more room for future episodes. Right now I'm quite slow with my output, but this is what works for me right now because uh, reasons.
yeah.
And
Okay.
of course, it is always a pleasure talking to you. And as with every guest, I thank you for your time. It,
Yes, thank you too, Joe. It's a pleasure coming back on.
and yeah, I think we leave it at that. Goodbye,
Okay.
everybody.